about 5 things. And first we're going to talk about how to create a profitable social media strategy. Next we're going to talk about selecting the best social networks. We'll also measure the return on investment. I know this is a big question across the board. After we discover how to measure it, then we'll talk a little bit about the most important statistics to monitor. And lastly, I have a slide or two on the future of social marketing. So before we begin, I just want to briefly define what social media is, just so we're all on the same page. I'm sure we have people all different levels, from beginner to advanced. So my definition for social media is it really defines the activities that integrate technology, social interaction, and sharing information. So as you can see from the diagram here, there's all different types of social media. You have blogging, social networks, podcasts, video sharing, photo sharing. And the goal is to get all of these types of social media, regardless of what you use, to your company website. And the other thing that is very important to note is this last bullet here. Social media is part of the marketing strategy. And we're going to talk about how to create a social media strategy to success. The first step, and that really goes along with anything, is research and understand your target audience. Who are the people on the networks that you're trying to engage with? Do some research. What platforms are your people using? Are they on Facebook? Are they on Twitter? Are they on something new? The second step is to determine exactly what you'd like to communicate. So now that you have your audience, and you have your target audience, and you have your research done, now it's time to say, okay, what are we going to tell these people? What is the message that we want to get across? Not necessarily in each individual post, but across the board. Then after you figure out what you want to say, now it's time to select the networks that you would like your audience to, or that your audience is on, and where you'd like to communicate that message. So your research is defined, you know what you want to communicate, and now you're going to reach out to those social platforms, get logged in, create a profile, whatever it may be, to get yourself up and running. After your networks are created, now is the big step, and this is the leap that everyone needs to make, and that's joining the conversation. Engaging, interacting, spread the word. You want people to know that you're there. It's by having an account and not saying anything is not going to produce any results for you. You're going to have to get out there. You're going to have to post frequently. You're going to have to comment on other people's posts. Important of all these 5 steps is making sure you're measuring and reevaluating, because it's always a work in progress. So there it is. Following these 5 steps will lead to a successful social media strategy. Okay, so we've talked about the profitable social media strategy, and now we're going to dive into the social networks and defining which are the best networks for your target market. So we'll talk a little bit about blogs. A few benefits of starting a blog. The first and most important is establishing thought leadership. If you're the first to make a blog post about something that no one's heard of yet, you'll instantly get picked up among the different news sources. You can make a post on Twitter or Facebook, and the buzz will start to generate pretty rapidly. You can also have the opportunity to increase traffic to your website by linking things in your blog back and forth to the website and vice versa. You have the opportunity to connect with current and potential consumers. So people that may be searching online for your product and come across your blog may pick up a subscriber through those resources. And then you have the opportunity to optimize keywords for search engine optimization. That was a quick tutorial on blogging. Now we'll go into Facebook here. And most of you are aware that it's a social network that connects people with similar interests. That was really the whole premise behind creating Facebook. A few statistics I went and researched this for the presentation today. Some of them are quite astonishing. There's currently 500 million users using Facebook. 3 of every 4 Americans has a Facebook account. It's the 3rd most popular online brand. It's referring, I actually just found this out on compete.com. Facebook is actually now referring more people to your website than Google is. And that takes us back to some of the research I was presenting a little earlier. And this is a great point, especially for today. 40% of the people on Facebook like a brand, which is really almost half. And then out of those 40%, half of those purchase that brand's product. So if you have a fan on Facebook, the likelihood of them purchasing your product is 51%. And actually, in a few slides, I'm going to go over the value of a Facebook fan, so you can kind of get an idea of how much each fan is worth. And then we have, this is kind of an interesting statistic as well. More than 30 billion pieces of content are shared each month. Okay, so what is the business goal? So we all know about Facebook, but why would a company want to be a part of it? And the answer is it's really to build brand loyalty, strengthen communication, and build brand awareness. All right, so ways to promote. We'll kind of quickly run through these. These are just some ideas for you if you're having trouble getting your messaging out there. Again, these slides will be available here. But basically, we're creating an engagement page. You want to use the viral effect of Facebook, which is the news feed. Draw on your existing network. If you have email subscribers, it's okay to ask them to like you. Hey guys, we just started a new page. Like us, connect to us, follow us. Kind of use some of those keywords that social media is using today. We talked about blogs. We talked about Facebook. Twitter is that microblogging community. Limits your message to 140 characters. Here's a couple statistics that I thought were interesting. 175 million users. It's on its way. Obviously not quite Facebook, but growing very quickly. In one day, 95 million tweets are sent, and 20% of those are about a brand. And that's another key takeaway. Okay, so some ways to promote, build customer relationships. Just helps you drive traffic to your website. Research is out there. I'll show you that in the next slide. Start conversations. Get some feedback, network with prospects. These are all ways to promote your company using Twitter. This is an important one right here. React to negative consumer feedback. If someone has something negative to say, if you're not on these networks, you're either going to have one, frustrated customers because they're already mad at you, now they can't get a hold of you, or two, the negative impact is going to continue depending on the circumstance, and you will not be able to either stop it or amend the situation before it escalates to a point out of control, which can happen very quickly, and I'm sure you may have seen some examples of that recently. So here's another example. So how to find things on Twitter. Twitter has a search component, which is search.twitter.com, and here you can find anything that you really, if you would like information on a competitor, if you like information about yourself, if you like information on a new industry you're looking to pursue, you would just type in something here. Okay, and then we'll talk about YouTube here. Move through because I want to get to the good stuff. Here's just some statistics. The most important one on this, we all know about YouTube, used to share videos. 24 hours of video uploaded every minute. Ways to promote YouTube. YouTube's a little difficult if you don't have anything to video, but what I've suggested to companies that are looking, or maybe they don't think they have anything to video, they actually do. LinkedIn, also want to touch briefly on this. Again, some kind of cool statistics. A little less membership than the other three, but that's again, it started out as a professional network to connect experts and business partners. It's getting a tremendous amount of traffic. 42.8% of the traffic is from the United States. And the majority of members are decision makers. So if you have a product that you want to get into a retailer, let's say, and you're not sure who to contact for that retailer or your best route in, you can actually use LinkedIn, type in that company or that retailer that you're looking for, find out who's working there, and look and visualize the person that you need to talk to. Some ways to promote, so you get your LinkedIn profile updated, and these are just some ways to establish your brand, network, make it easy for potential customers to find you, use those keywords we talked about, explore, and then these two things are essential in establishing your network, and that's LinkedIn groups and LinkedIn answers. LinkedIn groups, you can target your brand keywords rather than a brand. So instead of actually promoting your company, you can promote your keywords. Answers is an opportunity for you to engage with LinkedIn members, answering and asking questions. There may be a lot of questions about your product. How do I use it? What are some good recipe suggestions? And you'll have the opportunity to actually network with people. Plug your brand a few times throughout your answer, nothing wrong with that, and that'll help people get to where they're going. So we got our social networks, we got our strategy. Now we're going to learn how to measure the return on investment. Okay, so how do we measure? What we do is we find what networks you're on, and then the leads that you're getting from those networks. And leads meaning conversions. What did you ask? Did you ask them to purchase a product? Did you ask them to visit your website? What was the conversion from the ask that you provided? And those two will equal your return on investment. Okay, so now this is probably one of the most important slides in the presentation. And now that we know all of the benefits of social media, we know what the return on investment is, but what is the return on ignore? Well, we talked about this earlier. By not listening, you're going to get some annoyed customers. You have the potential to lose interested prospects. If someone is searching for you and can't find you, then you're going to lose that interest. A loss of social media real estate. This is huge. Why it's huge is because social media is growing, things are changing, your competitors are getting ahead of you, and you're losing your space, and you're losing followers that you could be attracting. Giving up access to the best and probably most cost-effective meaning minimal or free, focus groups. People are talking about you. This gives you an opportunity to see what they're saying without conducting a focus group. Follow different trends, see what people are talking about, and either adjust, fix, or offer recommendations. And now we're going to talk about the statistics. When you're first starting out, remember it takes time. It takes a little while to get to this success. You have to build a bridge, you have to put in the time, you have to do the research, you have to understand your audience. It takes a little bit of work, but once it's there, it goes. And it takes about 90 days, which is kind of when we came up with 90 days marketing, my father and I. But it takes about 90 days to develop a following, a presence, some lead generation, some news, some buzz. I decided to put together a few slides here on some examples on how to measure, for those of you that may be on networks already. When you're measuring, you want to make sure you measure the importance, how strong is your reach. You also want to make sure your posting is relevant. Is your conversions or what you're asking people to do happening? And how often are you posting? Are you bombarding people? Are you shooting messages out every 30, 45 minutes? Or are you posting 1 or 2 messages a day?
Okay, now that we've looked at how to measure results, we're going to break down key performance indicators based on the 3 main networks, being Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Taking a look at Facebook, within Facebook there's an Insights platform that's actually built into your page. Within the Insights you can look at page likes, demographics, interactions, tab views, even impressions, really to get a big and basic understanding of who your target audience is. Next we look at Twitter, where Twitter actually doesn't have an Insights platform as Facebook does, but instead there's a lot of third-party websites that you can do different types of tracking as far as tweet frequency or retweets. Using tweet reach, you can also look at different impression numbers and the reach of your actual tweet. And then Twitter Counter is great as well, just to really target your level of influence and an overall sense of how you're ranking among other competitors. And then lastly with YouTube, YouTube has an Insights feature similar to Facebook in that it records data regarding your channel, and you can find information about your channel views, your friends, your subscriptions, your demographics, and even your most relevant video content. So today we've looked at how to create a profitable social media strategy. We've selected the best networks for your target market. We've learned how to measure the return on investment. Then we just went through discovering the most important statistics to monitor. And now my last slide here is a little highlight on the future of social media marketing. So trends for 2012, we're looking at niche social networks, maybe making a little more of an increase in the future. These networks are really specialized per industry and relate specifically on a certain topic. Then as we saw in the beginning of this presentation, mobile is definitely heading in the future. That includes the QR codes, check-ins, geolocation services. And then we have our real-time search and our social search, which will actually be incorporated. Even Google's already done that with their instant search. And then lastly, we have augmented reality. And then I just wanted to take a minute to thank you all for listening to me this afternoon. It was a pleasure speaking with you, and I really hope you got something out of it. If you need to contact me, please reach me at www.johnavola.com. Thank you.